In this video, I'm gonna walk you through very slowly, step by step, how to do a cast on, a very simple cast on, and the regular knit stitch. And we're gonna go super slow. If anything, ideally, I would like for us to do it together. So I want you to grab a pair of needles, any size, and some yarn, any size, doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. Just grab what you have, and I'm gonna walk you through step by step the cast on and the regular knit stitch. I did create another video on how to knit, a beginner's guide on how to knit. And so many of you gave such great feedback, and you're on your way to knitting awesome projects. And I'm just so excited for all of you. And there are for a couple people that were still kind of struggling, still needing some additional guidance and help. And so I'm hoping that this video, along with that one, can go hand in hand for especially those who needed just a little extra guidance. So I'm gonna, again, encourage you to do this with me so that we can just go step by step and maybe catch any mistake that maybe you were making before. Okay, so first things first is we need to cast on a number of stitches onto one needle. That's step one. So to cast on, we begin with a slip knot. And to create a slip knot, we're just going to create this fish like this. And so then our short tail, the short side, which is going to be going over the long side, we're going to put our two pincher fingers right here into the body of the fish. And then we're going underneath the body and grabbing that tail of the fish. And then we're just simply pulling until we have a loop right here. Okay, so let's do that again. If you're following along, let's do it together. So again, we start with a slip knot. And so we have our short tail is over the top of the long tail. We're going to put our two pincher fingers into the body of the fish. We're going to go under and grab that short tail. We're holding on to the tails, the two tails, we're holding on. We're going to grab that short leg and simply pull. Simply pull, okay? And it'll create that loop, okay? And then we're gonna take this loop that now has this little slip knot right here. We're gonna take this loop and we're just gonna scoop it onto our needle, and then we're going to pull. There you go. Let's do it one more time. All together now, we're going to go into the body of the fish. We're going to hold on to the tail. So then we're going to grab the short leg, pull to create our slip knot. And then actually, once we place this slip knot onto our needle, we want the tail facing us and then our working yarn toward the back. So tail facing you, working yarn toward the back. And then we're simply going to pull just to tighten that up. Now this is technically your first casted on stitch. Yay! You got one! All right, so let's keep going. I'm actually going to flip this because it's twisted. All right, so I got my short tail in the front, working yarn in the back. And now to put more stitches, to cast on more stitches than we have here, we're just going to take our thumb, we're going to scoop under and flip, and we're making another little fish right there. You see it? And then we're going to poke the fish and pull. Now we have two stitches. Again, let's take our thumbs up. We're going to scoop the working yarn and just bend your thumb to flip it and create a little loop right there or another fish. And then from front to back, we're poking the fish, pulling the yarn. So now we've got 3 stitches. Let's cast on a few more. We're going to go under with our thumb, under with our thumb, flip it, poke it, and pull. All right, together. Under with your thumb, flip it to make a loop, poke it, and pull it. So we have 5 stitches casted on. Let's do a few more. Under with our thumb, flip it, poke it, and pull the yarn. All right, so, and you should start to see it's like creating this little ridge here on the bottom. You're right on track. So under, flip it, poke the loop, and pull the yarn. So under, flip it, poke, pull. Great. All right, so what do we have here? We have 8. Let's do 2 more, so we have 10 stitches total. So we're gonna go under, flip it, poke, pull, under, flip it, poke, and pull. All right, so here we have our 10 stitches that are casted on, and there's a little ridge here on the bottom. And now we have our working yarn here. We have our tail here. And so now to begin, now that you have this is called casting on, and now to begin actual knitting, what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip our work. So now the tail is on the left-hand side. Your working yarn is always going to be where you're beginning your knitting. So I'm going to start here on this end, and so my working yarn needs to be on the same end as where I'm going to be, where I'm starting. And then your tail will, is gonna flip sides every time. Okay, so as you can see, I just kind of slid my stitches toward the top because you don't want them too close to the top where they're gonna fall off, but you do want to be working toward the top of the needle instead of like back here. So we're gonna slide those up to the front. Now this finger, my pointer finger, is really gonna be supporting these existing stitches and kind of helping moving them on and off the needle. So that's really what my left hand is doing. Now our goal is we want to knit all of these stitches individually, one by one, and knit them onto our other needle. That will be in our right hand. So we want these stitches to go onto this needle, and then we're gonna knit those stitches back onto this needle and vice versa, back and forth until our project begins to grow. So our objective here is how do we one by one get these stitches onto this needle? And how we do that is we're just going to work through the regular knit stitch. If you see it in a knitting pattern, it'll be a K, it'll say K, the letter K, and that's this stitch that we're gonna do right now. Okay. So as you can see, I'm just holding my left hand needle in my hand. I'm getting ready to use my pointer finger to kind of support and adjust these needles, these stitches on my left hand side. And now I'm gonna take my right hand needle. Well, actually first, before I do that, let's get this yarn in hand. How I like to do it is I just like to scoop up the yarn and then I just kind of wrap it around. So I just kind of grab it. So I'm wrapping and grabbing. You can do one finger and grab. You can do 2 fingers and grab. It's really up to you as to what feels best to you, but I like to do 2 fingers and then I just wrap and grab, okay? And now I'm gonna grab my other needle because really what I want to do here is I want this hand, my right hand, is going to be controlling the tension of how much yarn I'm allowing or how tight I'm knitting each stitch. So that's what I'm doing with this hand. And so here's what I have found. Now, since we did this easy cast on, we want to maintain closeness, because if we get too far away, then there's just like a big hole and a big gap in between. So we don't want that. We want to stay close. So once you have your yarn in hand, you grab your needle and you're going to take your working needle. You're going to come in between your first 2 stitches and you're going to go behind that needle. Just kind of work your way in there. Okay, so again, let's do this together. So if you have your needles in hand, you're going to go behind the needle, just like so. You have this yarn in this hand. I keep getting a loop in there. All right, so this is a little saying I like to say. So we're going to go in this back window. We're going to take our working yarn that's currently behind the needle. We're going to go from back to front. So we're in between the 2 needles now. Or in other words, you can say, you know, we're going to go around the needle or around the bend, around the bend. We're going left, then right, so that we're right in between. Okay, are you there with me? Right? So remember, we went in the back. We're going in between, so around the bend. Now I'm going to kind of begin as if I'm going to pull this stitch or this needle out. Now see, look, I'm holding on to this needle, or I mean this stitch here, so it doesn't slide off the top of this one just yet. We're not ready for that just yet. But I'm going to bring my needle down. I'm going to maintain that yarn that I put in between the 2. And now I'm going to come into the front of the needle. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that again. Okay, so we went, and now I am pulling this yarn so that there's not like this big loop like this. I don't want this to be baggy and saggy. I want it to be tight. And so that's where I'm using my pointer finger to kind of keep the tension between the yarn and the needles. Okay, so I'm going to go around the bend. So right now I'm in between the 2. I'm in the back window. I'm going to keep holding on to that yarn and bring it into the front window. And again, I'm holding on to this stitch with this left hand. I'm pulling on this yarn with my right hand to maintain the tension. So I went from back window to front window. And now we pop it off the top. And then we just give the yarn a little tug. And now we've transferred our first stitch using the regular knit stitch. Now again, I have this little gap here, and that's okay. Probably don't want much longer than that, otherwise it'll create a big baggy loop right there. So I've got 1 stitch. Let's do it again. So again, I'm using my left hand to kind of slide that stitch up to the top. I'm bringing my right needle in between the 2, going into the back window. Okay, we're in the back window. We're going to bring that yarn around the bend. So we're in between the 2. We're going to come into the front window, holding on to that yarn. And now we're going to pop it off the top. Now we've got 2 stitches on our right side, on our right needle. Let's do it again. Sliding another stitch up to the top here. I'm going to go in the back window. I'm going to go in between the 2 needles, so around the bend. Front window. Pop it off the top. And now keep, hold on here. You don't want this to be too tight and you don't want it to be too loose. So, play with it to find the right amount of tension and the right, like how tight. Sometimes I tend to be a tight knitter. And then the stitches can be too tight and they're like even hard to move on the needles. And so you want to have, this ability to move around and slide around with your needle and your stitches. Otherwise, if it's too tight, it just makes knitting that much harder. All right, so here we go. Next one, we're gonna go back window. We're gonna bring that yarn in between the two, okay? Front window. Pop it off the top. Did you get it? Let's do it again. And now again, my right hand here is just kind of controlling how much yarn I'm giving. Now my daughters, when they first learned this, they didn't even hold on to the yarn. They didn't hold on to it. They just took the needles, put one in the back window here. Then they grabbed the yarn, put it into the center or in between the two. And you got to hold it just a little bit so it doesn't go away. Front window, pop it off the top. And so I'm barely even holding it. Once you practice this, you're going to kind of know and feel the difference in the tension. But even if that's too tricky for you, don't even hold it. Just let it fall behind your needles there. Back window, grab your yarn, go in between the two. Front window, pop it off the top. There we go. 4 more. Back window, yarn in between, so we're going around the bend. Front window, pop it off the top. Back window, around the bend. Front window, pop it off the top. Back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. Back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. Look. Now this needle is empty. You did it. You knit your first row. And so this needle should now be empty. And then the needle that you just knitted, you just transferred all of those stitches onto the other needle. And so now you can see you have a little extra work that you just made there. So again, we're going to flip our work. I like to just kind of pull the stitches down and together. And I was just showing you, but see, there's like, if you have a little loop there that's bigger than the other one, who cares? You're just starting out, you're practicing. Sometimes you can just give it a little tug. All right, let's do it again. So that was our first row. And now since we turned our work, now all these stitches we want to get onto this needle. So we're going to do the same thing to get all of these stitches now onto this needle. So again, we have our tail here. We're not bothering with that. It's just kind of, for now, in the way. Until your work starts to grow, it's in the way for the first row or two. Don't mind it. So we have our working yarn in the front. Actually, I'm going to put it's going to be in the back of the needle though. So we're going to, make sure that's a good tip. Make sure when you're going into the back of the needle, make sure this yarn is not in the front. You want to make sure it's right now for this regular knit stitch, it's in the back. It's behind your needle too. So it should go needle, needle, yarn. All right, so we went in that back window. We're going in between the needles, so we went around the bend. We're going to go into the front window and popping it off the top. And just give it a little tug. Same thing, we're just using, again, our pointer finger and our thumb here to just kind of move this stitch, next one in line, move it up to closer to the tip. Now we're going to go behind, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. All right, so just let's do a quick check here. Do a little quick check on your own work and your own grip. So again, we're holding on to the yarn if you're ready for that. Got your working needle in your right hand. You got your other needle that has all your stitches in your left hand. You're using your pointer finger to kind of just help out with these stitches, prevent them from falling off. And so we're going to go in the back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. Back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. All right, how are you doing? How's it going? Should be getting a few stitches in. So coming in between these two, I'm going to go in this back window. I'm going to go in between the two by coming around from back to front. I'm going to come into this front window and pop it off the top. So again, I'm sliding this stitch down. I'm holding on to it. We're going to go in the back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. Back window, back to front, we go around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. Back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. Back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. Last one, back window, around the bend, front window, pop it off the top. There we go. We've done 2 rows now. So if we flip our work over, you can start to see as you complete each row, your project is going to grow and grow and grow. So that is the simple knit stitch. Once you start and you keep using this pattern, it's called the garter stitch, but it's also the knit stitch, same thing. So I'm going to keep going here. If you still have questions, please post them below. I really wanted to go extra slow, and hopefully you did this together with me so that you could catch where you might have been missing a step. But if there's still something you're stuck on, please let me know. I'm really excited and happy to help you. All right, happy knitting. Keep at it. Practice, practice, practice. It's okay if you don't get it the first time. Just stick with it. The key is practice. Believe me, myself, my daughters, oh my gosh, we've really had our fair share of plenty of mistakes, but practicing has really made a big difference. So you got this. Keep at it, and I look forward to any additional questions you might have. All right, post them below. Thanks, everyone. Bye.